Time now for Focus. Today we head to Jordan, where police have started rounding up Syrian refugees, taking them by force to official camps, some in the middle of the desert. It's part of a law passed by Jordan when it opened its borders that Syrian refugees are to live within the strict boundaries of their camps, but it wasn't enforced until now. Some of the hundreds of thousands of Syrians in Jordan are even reportedly forcibly sent home. This report by Julien Fouché and Patrick Lovett.
This Syrian refugee is in shock.
شوف هذاك حمل الباص هذاك حمل هاي والله العظيم ومكة والله يا ربي أنت موجود يا ربي ليش هيك
350 refugees were living here on this barren field north of Jordan, only a few hundred meters away from the Syrian border. But their temporary huts have been demolished. They only had a few minutes to try and salvage the little belongings they still owned. The police arrived at dawn aboard 2 buses. Indeed, Jordanian authorities are now clamping down on such makeshift refugee settlements. Hundreds are being dismantled throughout the kingdom.
These people are setting up camps anywhere, and we can't manage them. Our citizens have been complaining about it and about the disorder they've been causing.
Jordan's official stance is that it's closing these make-do camps because of public health concerns. But the main objective is to stem what's become a major refugee crisis. These Syrians are one of the very first families who are being driven under heavy police escort to a brand new United Nations refugee camp. In the middle of the desert, Azraq camp. 10,000 shelter units surrounded by a giant fence. Built in April, most of these constructions are still empty. We meet with one of the families who were forced to come and live here. They've just arrived and have been provided with basic amenities.
They also gave us a few sponges and a gas bottle.
Every day, Ali will be given €4 worth of food vouchers. Before coming to this camp, he used to make ends meet as an undocumented worker here in Jordan.
We're farmers. We're not used to places like this, being caged like that in the middle of the desert. I want to go away. They put us in here not telling us what would happen next, so I have no idea what will happen to us now.
The international community paid $40 million to build this giant refugee camp with a capacity of 130,000 people. But when Jordan signed an agreement with the UN, they made it clear camps were to be the only places where Syrians seeking refuge in the kingdom should be living.
One of the conditions that Jordan had when it opened its borders to the refugees, particularly in 2012, was that all new refugees would go to the camps. So we've invested tens of millions of dollars there to try and make it as habitable, and we will be looking at more and more refugees arriving as the government enforces a policy.
But most Syrian refugees are fleeing these camps in an attempt to lead a normal life again in small cities across Jordan. There are several thousand Syrian refugees hiding in rented homes, often living in unsanitary conditions, like here. The monthly rent for this former sheep pen turned apartment is €350. This family depends on its men to earn money and cover these expenses. But Marwa's husband was recently arrested and forcibly returned to Syria. Marwa had had no news from her husband until today. Azad, the husband, is currently hiding in an area controlled by the Islamic State organization, with 10 other refugees who were also deported from Jordan.
We've been kicked out of Jordan without any money. My pockets are empty. We now have to beg people for money and ask them if they can hide us in their homes. When we're out in the open, we have to hide from trench to trench. There are airplanes and bombings in the area. I'm terrified.
Whether the Islamic State organization or the Syrian regime, they both capture people and make them disappear. Prisoners are forced to work for them or else they get killed.
Jordanian authorities deny these claims that they're forcibly returning refugees to war-torn Syria. But according to a report recently published by Human Rights Watch, Marwa's husband's story is not an isolated one.
And now I'm joined from Jordan by Mark Shakal from Médecins Sans Frontières. He's their Jordan and Iraq head of mission. Hello, thank you very much indeed for being with us. First of all, what's your reaction to Jordan rounding up Syrian refugees, 80% of whom live outside official camps?
Yeah, that's true. Jordan has adopted a policy of trying to gather people inside the camps. It's not really a success so far because, as you said, 80% of the refugees are outside of the camps trying to find precarious living conditions in the host communities. It allows them to find, small jobs, have some little livelihood, and organize a kind of solidarity among themselves. So knowing that 80% of the aid is dedicated to camps, but only a few part of the refugees present in Jordan are in the camps, it's a serious issue. The camps are considered to be a long-term settlement. It creates dependence on aid, which is a bit paradoxal because it's not what Jordan wants to let the Syrians on the long term present in their country.
But if I understand correctly, it does make your work easier, doesn't it, having Syrian refugees in official camps? You're better able to take care of them, I imagine.
In theory, the camps are also organized to gather and to optimize the aid system, but we at MSF are more concerned about Syrians that who are out of the camps. The winter approaching, we risk important issue and on health care, mainly for children and newborn babies with respiratory infection, domestic accident with the heating systems and so on. And actually all these Syrians who are outside the camp have no access to any aid unless they go through a real complicated obstacle course. So for us, it doesn't really change a lot.
And I understand that Jordan started charging Syrian refugees for medical treatment recently. Is that right? Could you tell us more about that?
Yes, that's right. The refugees are struggling every day to have a decent life here in Jordan, and this decision is not helping them, of course, whether they are registered or not. Our main concern is the consequence of this decision to our programs, our health care project, because we are facing a lot of people coming from very far. They are doing hundreds of kilometers to our consultation to receive a free health care, and the access and the medical coverage that the alternative is proposing is still very weak. So today our main concern is giving access to health for these people who are looking for protection and shelter and health care in Jordan.
But of course, for Jordan and some of Syria's other neighbours, it's a very heavy burden to have so many Syrian refugees on their territory. Yesterday, we reported on Lebanon introducing visa restrictions. What do you make of the way Syrian refugees are being treated generally by Syria's neighbours?
Well, I think everybody is trying to do its best, but it's an international responsibility. There is an international solidarity to respect. And for me, it is the international community that has the duty to provide adequate humanitarian assistance to the Syrians who are looking protection outside their country. The Syrian conflict is lasting since almost 4 years. It's very violent, and there is very few perspective of solution, and very few hope for these people for the moment to go back home. So the only cause of this crisis is the war itself, and the only solution would be peace in Syria, of course.
Do you think that countries outside of that region should be doing more to help countries like Jordan, or actually doing more to perhaps welcome Syrian refugees on their own territory?
Again, I think it's an international responsibility to give assistance to the civilians that are victims of the war in Syria. The 1949 Convention is a fundamental text which is defining the rules of protection of the victims of armed conflicts, and definitely the Syrians all over the world are people who are looking for this protection.
Okay, Mark Shakal from MSF, thank you very much indeed for joining us from Jordan for Focus.
Thank you.